Khanate Providence? Hanju raised his eyebrows. Was another strong enemy attacking? Strange, he didn't sense the aura of a powerful enemy. He immediately chose to check. Fusong Tree, early stage Grand Unity Mystic Immortal Realm, ancient divine tree. It contains the rules of space and time. After being nurtured by an immortal emperor all year round, it has absorbed the essence of the world and the chi of yin and yang. Its intelligence has finally matured. So it was the Fusong Tree. Hanju was shocked. He thought that there was another enemy attack. To be able to become a Khanate Providence bearer in the system's setting. That meant that the Fusong Tree had at least the potential of an immortal emperor. He immediately moved to the Fusong Tree. On the tree, Ada, Xiao and the black hell chicken were still cultivating and did not sense anything unusual about it. Hanju probed the Fusong Tree with his divine sense and communicated with it. The Fusong Tree was very nervous, but it didn't reject him. After all, it was a powerful primordial divine tree. During the nurturing of its intelligence, it had already grasped the language of mortals and could communicate with humans. After some communication, the Fusong Tree acknowledged Hanju as its master without any resistance. The Fusong Tree couldn't gain human form immediately. It needed to reach a higher realm before it could transform. All right, say hello to everyone. Hanju suddenly smiled and woke everyone up. Who? The disciples looked around curiously. The Fusong Tree began to shake and let out a childish voice. Hello, everyone. I'm the Fusong Tree. Please take care of me in the future. Please don't lie on me anymore. The black hell chicken, Ada, and Xiao were all shocked and jumped out. The Fusong Tree has become a spirit? Zhou Mingwei exclaimed. Sun Chang'an was very calm as if he had expected this. The others gathered around and asked. Hanju didn't participate anymore and returned to the Khanate cave abode to continue cultivating. It was a good thing that the Fusong Tree had become a spirit. Although it had yet to transform, it could at least protect Hidden Insect Island in the future. For a time, Hidden Insect Island became lively again. After cultivating for 5 years, Hanju jumped out of the netherworld and went to fetch the mighty figures that the white-robed Buddha contacted. He had left the 6 paths insignia in the void where the reroll world was previously. It was still very easy to find. In the void, more than 1,000 cultivators gathered, all from the immortal world. They were all very nervous. Why isn't the mortal world guardian here, yet? TSK, he really moved an entire world away. Qi Yunxian is already so strong? It's not Qi Yunxian. He has long perished. There's a new guardian of the mortal world now. He's very mysterious. Sigh, I didn't expect that our generation would encounter the immeasurable calamity. We're really unlucky. The cultivators discussed and were very curious about Hanju. After a long while, Hanju finally appeared. At first, no one took him seriously and thought that he was the same as them. Hanju had no choice but to unleash his immortal emperor aura and suppress the void. Everyone turned to look at him. Is there anyone else? Hanju asked as he scanned the cultivators present. The highest cultivation level was only a Grand Unity Mystic Immortal. There wasn't even a Grand Unity Golden Immortal. Hanju was disappointed. But on second thought, it was very difficult to reach the Grand Unity Golden Immortal realm. Such a person could even be placed in an important position in the Heavenly Court. No one replied to Hanju, so he couldn't be bothered to wait any longer. He directly waved his sleeve and sucked all the people into the reroll world. The white-robed Buddha would receive them later. He turned around and left. After leaving Hidden Insect Island, Hanju felt very insecure and wanted to return as soon as possible. Wait! A familiar voice sounded. Hanju turned around and saw Jiangyi flying over with the true sun flame. Hanju was vigilant. Was Jiangyi going to avenge the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor? No, these two had a grudge, to begin with. Hanju asked, "Why are you here?" Jiangyi said angrily, "I came to find you." I have something joyous to tell you. I didn't expect you to not be here. Fortunately, a group of mortals was waiting for you. What joyous occasion! The great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor who hunted you is dead. What? Really? Hanju was overjoyed and had an unbelieving expression. Jiang Yi was in a good mood and smiled. I used a lot of effort. When I learned that you were being hunted down by him, I went to find him, but he didn't want to stop. So that's why you were almost beaten to death? Hanju ridiculed him in his heart, but on the surface, he said gratefully, "Thank you, fellow Taoist." Jiang Yi waved his hand. There's no need for that. I came to find you for another matter. Have you been hiding in the netherworld recently? I'm going to the netherworld to do something. Can you help me? What is it? Go ahead. The ancestral Magus Tower. My Golden Crow Divine Clan wants to find this item. If you can help me find it, I won't disappoint you with the reward. I really don't know. Jiang Yi frowned. You can help me investigate. I don't want to go straight to the netherworld. I want to challenge the prodigies to fight for Providence. All right, I'll help you. Yes, I'll rely on this in the future. Jiang Yi took out a token and gave it to Hanju. The token was engraved with the portrait of a golden crow. He would call it the Golden Crow token for the time being. Hanju took it and was about to leave. Wait, can you tell me another story? Jiang Yi stopped him and chuckled. So this was the main point, after all? Hanju cursed silently. Then, he suddenly had a bold thought. Good opportunity. Hanju said seriously, it's not good to tell a story here. I'm afraid that others will hear it and cause unnecessary trouble. Jiang Yi raised his eyebrows in joy. He wanted to hear a realistic story. He immediately took out a divine jade and threw it above his head. The jade shone and covered the two of them. Hanju sat cross-legged and meditated. Then, he said, legend had it that Pangu split the heavens and his body transformed into the primordial world. Outside the primordial world, there were actually living beings. They were called the chaotic fiend celestials. When the primordial world was evolving, the chaotic fiend celestials had been spying on it. However, the heavenly Tao blocked them outside, preventing them from invading the primordial world. With the eruption of the immeasurable calamity, the primordial world was constantly ravaged. The chaotic fiend celestials finally had a chance. One of the fiend celestials found an opportunity to infiltrate the primordial world and occupied the body of a Buddha from West Heaven. In order to let himself adapt to the Buddha's body, he hid his identity. Jiang Yi frowned. Was this a story of the Buddhist sect? The matter of the Buddhist sect's devil heart was not a secret, but everyone in the immortal world believed that it was a domineering method used by the Buddhist sect to control their disciples. Could it be that the truth was not so? Hanju continued to fabricate the story. The immeasurable calamity erupted and the world was in chaos. The Buddhist sect always took action when others were in danger. It seemed to be for the peace of the world, but they were actually stirring up trouble and made the calamity even more chaotic. Hanju became more and more excited as he spoke, and he almost couldn't stop the fabrication. In the end, the Buddhist sect won and became the overlord who saved all living beings in the world. The providence of the heavenly Tao landed on that chaotic fiend celestial, and he used his great dermic powers to open the heavenly Tao barrier and attracted countless chaotic fiend celestials to invade the primordial world and destroy all living beings. Hanju finished and smiled. This is purely a fictional story. Don't take it seriously. Jiang Yi snorted. What's the point? It has nothing to do with my Golden Crow Divine Clan. The Golden Crow Divine Clan is too low profile. They don't have many stories in the mortal world. Humph. All right, that's all. I'll be leaving first. Don't spread this story, lest it makes me look like I'm defaming the Buddhist sect. Got it. Jiang Yi waved his hand impatiently, and Hanju quickly left. After he left, Jiang Yi's expression darkened. After moving between the two worlds of the living and dead for hundreds of thousands of times, Hanju finally returned to the netherworld and entered Hidden Sect Island. No one should be able to guess that I'm here, Hanju thought proudly. After receiving them, he should cultivate in seclusion and break through to the rank 4 Immortal Emperor realm. As for what Jiangyi asked him to do, he couldn't be bothered. This was for Jiangyi's sake. That ancestral Magus Tower did not sound like a good place. It would most likely cause a bloody calamity. It was best to stay as far away as possible. Hanju didn't receive any new hatred points for the next few years. He was completely relieved. It seemed that Jiangyi didn't betray him behind his back. Year after year passed. After about 30 years, Hanju finally had the chance to break through. He chased Dao Comprehension Sword out and began to break through. Netherworld. In a mountain range, the mountain collapsed and dust flew up. The ground within a radius of thousands of kilometers trembled. Ji Xianshan floated in the air and looked nervously at the rolling dust mist below. The ghost sat on his shoulder and smiled. If you subdue this tower, you will have the right to challenge the immortal world. Ji Xianshan looked expectant. Previously, he had failed to snatch the divine treasure from the Xidagarba palace. If he failed again, his Dao heart would be severely hurt. If he couldn't even snatch a treasure, how could he fight for Providence? A huge object slowly rose from the rolling dust. It was a simple and strange stone tower. A skeleton was locked in the window of each level. There were living beings of all races, and there were even bones of people. Beat faster upon seeing this pagoda. What Dharma treasure is this? What a powerful murderous aura! Ji Xianshan was secretly shocked. He stared at the mysterious stone pagoda with burning eyes. At this moment, a terrifying pressure descended. Humph, you want to steal our treasure? Kid, you're courting death. A cold snort sounded, and the temperature of the world suddenly decreased. Ji Xianshan immediately rushed towards the mysterious stone pagoda, preparing to snatch it first. Boom! The clouds in the sky churned as a terrifying palm struck down. It was as if the sky had collapsed. In front of this palm, everything seemed tiny. After 3 years, Hanju finally broke through. He didn't have to transcend the tribulation in the Dao field. Rank 4 Immortal Emperor. His soul transformed again as his dharmic powers increased exponentially. In conclusion, it was awesome. Hanju began to consolidate his cultivation and checked his attributes list. Name, Hanju. Lifespan, 3204,904,919,919,919,919,919,919. Race, Immortal, Stellar Primordial Body. Cultivation, Rank for Reincarnation Immortal Emperor. Technique, Primordial Chaos Reincarnation Great Tao, Heavenly Cycle Body Tempering. Great Tao of Life and Death, Magic, Unparalleled Finger Divine Sword. 300 trillion years of lifespan. Who could compare to him? Hanju was arrogant. The pleasure of becoming a rank 4 Immortal Emperor wasn't as great as the increase in lifespan. Hanju cursed so many enemies and consumed so much lifespan, but his lifespan still increased greatly. This feeling? Hanju couldn't help but have a thought. Wasn't it fine to squander some lifespan? I have 300 trillion years of lifespan. What's wrong with me using 10 billion years? Great losses? It was only 0.01. Hanju decided to squander it. 2 years later, Hanju's cultivation level had completely consolidated on the rank 4 Immortal Emperor realm. He planned to comprehend the Sword Dao first and raise all his Sword Dao mystical powers to the limit before spending his lifespan. At this moment, Dao Comprehension Sword's voice sounded, "Master, something big happened." Hanju couldn't help but spread his divine sense. No powerful enemies attacked. Did something happen to the disciples? Soon, Hanju caught sight of Tu Linger's abnormality. She was curled up on the ground, her body spasming and her expression extremely painful. Hanju immediately flashed in front of her. He squatted down and checked her body. A mysterious power stimulated Linger's blood. Could it be her bloodline? What happened? Hanju showed a frown. He used his dermic powers to heal Linger, but it was useless. Ancestral. Ancestral Magus. Ancestral Magus Tower, Linger said with a trembling voice. She had already lost consciousness and her voice was almost unrecognizable. Hanju heard it clearly. The ancestral Magus Tower that Jiangyi was looking for? He frowned. At this moment, Linger began to bleed from her 7 orifices. The disciples panicked. What should we do, Grandmaster? What happened to her? Did she fight too much? Something's wrong. Something happened to her bloodline. Why did this happen? What should we do? Everyone spoke at once. Everyone had been together for a long time and naturally did not want anything to happen to their fellow disciples. Hanju said in a low voice, "You guys guard this place. I'm going out." With that, he jumped out of Hidden Insect Island and flew towards the Bridge of Forgetfulness. He wanted to ask Mengpu if there was a way to save her. Not long after, Hanju suddenly felt a vast aura. The aura was very similar to Linger's, but it was even more powerful and ancient. Could it be? Hanju's expression changed slightly, and he immediately changed direction. Above the wasteland, there were cracks in the ground, and dust surged. Countless strange black lightning interwove in the air. Ji Xianshan lay on the ground, furious. Following his gaze, a burly man floated in the sky. He held an extremely majestic stone pagoda in one hand. This burly man had a sinister appearance, and his body was burly like a savage bear. He had a flood dragon wrapped around his waist and he stood on a fire wheel. Damn the Magus race! A roar sounded, fiery light rising, illuminating heaven and earth. Jiangyi brought the true sun flame over. His hair was messy and his eyes were filled with anger. There were others on the ground. All of them emitted powerful auras. The weakest was a Grand Unity Mystic Immortal. Ji Xianshan gritted his teeth and said, "I can't win." The ghost appeared on his shoulder and said in a low voice, "You have to snatch it at all costs. The ancestral Magus Tower is a supreme treasure. If you can snatch it, you will be qualified to enter the Calamity. Otherwise, you will only be cannon fodder." Ji Xianshan's expression darkened. "How dare you thieves steal our treasure? You really don't know your limits." The man who had raised the ancestral Magus Tower roared angrily. His voice shook the ground and his aura erupted. It pierced through the sea of clouds as if a huge hole had appeared in the sky. Facing the menacing Jiangyi, he clenched his right fist and struck. With a punch, the world froze. Jiangyi's expression changed drastically. Before he could react, he vomited blood and flew out. His speed was too fast. The space behind him shattered and he fell into the void. In the distance, Hanju witnessed this scene and was secretly shocked. Is this a powerful expert of the Magus race? What a terrifying punch! Hanju's gaze landed on the ancestral Magus Tower in the burly man's hand. Linger was muttering the tower's name. Would she calm down after obtaining it? "I'll snatch it, then." He had to hurry up and not expose his identity. Hanju compared his cultivation level with the burly man. He should be able to kill him instantly. This fellow was even slightly weaker than the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor. However, the burly man was from the Magus race. There was no need for Hanju to kill him. After all, he could be considered an ally of the Magus race. The battle did not end even after Jiangyi was repelled. Instead, it became even more spectacular. The experts from various factions attacked, including Ji Xianshan. They surrounded the burly Magus. The burly Magus raised the ancestral Magus Tower with his left hand and fought with his right. He would fight as many as came. However, he seemed to be holding back. Even if it was a Grand Unity Mystic Immortal, he did not kill the other party. Hanju took the opportunity to transform into the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor and attacked the burly Magus. Under the concealment of the system, his cultivation aura had always been that of a grand unity true immortal. The burly Magus did not think much of him. Facing Hanju, the burly Magus waved his fist. However, Hanju suddenly disappeared and appeared beside the burly Magus. He slashed with his sword. Unparalleled sword chi. The sword chi directly sent the burly Magus flying and vomiting blood. Hanju waved his sleeve and took away the ancestral Magus tower. Then, he used his movement technique and jumped out of the netherworld. The burly Magus steadied himself, his eyes wide with anger. Hanju had already held back. Otherwise, he would have killed him instantly. The burly Magus roared angrily. Ji Xianshan was stunned. He muttered, "The ancestral Magus tower was taken? Wait! Wasn't that person the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor? Wasn't that fellow dead?" Ji Xianshan had personally witnessed him being insta-killed by Hanju. Why would he appear again? Could they be brothers? Hanju moved repeatedly in the void. After doing it dozens of times, he directly jumped into the netherworld and entered Hidden Sect Island. The process sounded complicated, but in fact, it only took a few breaths of time. After returning to Hidden Sect Island, with the Dao field isolating them, the mighty figures of the Magus race should not be able to deduce the ancestral Magus tower. The Dao field could block the divine sense of the Zenith Heaven realm. The Magus race was already desolate, so how could they still have Zenith Heaven realm existences? Hanju came in front of Chu Linger and took out the ancestral Magus tower. In an instant, the ancestral Magus tower shone on Chu Linger. Her twitching form suddenly stopped and flew up, then was sucked into the ancestral Magus tower. Everyone was surprised. The Black Hell Demon Lord came over and said in surprise, "Could this be the legendary ancestral Magus tower?" Hanju glanced at him and asked, "You know its origins?" "Yes. Before the end of that immeasurable calamity, all the ancestral magi perished. The ancestral Magus, Empress Hutu, who had already transformed into reincarnation, kept all her clansmen in the ancestral Magus tower. She originally wanted to protect her clansmen, but the heavenly Tao refused to allow it. It used the boundless power of virtuous merit to suppress the ancestral Magus tower. At that time, the Magus race was filled with negative karma and was directly purified by the heavenly Tao's merit. All of them died, and the ancestral Magus tower also became a merit supreme treasure." The Black Hell Demon Lord sighed. This legend was extremely ancient to him. It was so ancient that he wasn't sure if it was true. Hanju asked curiously, "Shouldn't this tower be the tomb of the Magus race? How can it become their supreme treasure?" The Black Hell Demon Lord replied, "Although the Magus race perished in the ancestral Magus tower, they can rely on the tower to deepen their bloodline and even return to their ancestral roots. The Magus race that survived today is all a combination of the Magus race and humans from the ancient era. Their bloodline is not pure." "I see." Hanju was even more puzzled. Why would the Magus race let such a treasure out? Did something happen? Hanju immediately checked his emails. As expected, he discovered an email. "Your good friend Mengpo was attacked by the demon race's immortal emperor and was severely injured. Fortunately, the mighty figure of the netherworld saved her. Mengpo was severely injured again. This time, she was attacked by an immortal emperor. It seemed that the demon court had targeted the Magus race." Hanju thought silently. The others surrounded the ancestral Magus tower and pointed. After a while, Tu Linger's voice came from inside the tower. "Master, I'm fine. This treasure acknowledged me as its master. I've let you down. You can take it back when I'm out." Hanju smiled. "It's fine. This treasure belongs to your Magus race. It's yours." He didn't want to take this treasure. He didn't want to be stained with great karma. "None of you are allowed to speak of this matter, understand?" Hanju reminded. Zhou Minghua threw up his hands and said, "We're not going out, anyway. There's no chance to publicize it." "Pa!" Chu Shuren slapped him on the head and almost knocked him to the ground. "How can you speak to Grandmaster like that?" Chu Shuren glared. Zhou Minghua hurriedly apologized to Hanju and looked at Chu Shuren hatefully. This shitty master had attacked too quickly. He had clearly been waiting for such an opportunity. Hanju shook his head and laughed. Then, he turned around and returned to the Khanate cave abode. This was just a small incident, and Hanju didn't take it to heart. He continued to improve his sword Dao. In the next half a year, he repeatedly headed to the Sword Dao River and raised all his Sword Dao mystical powers to the deity realm, reaching the limit. Hanju started the simulation trial. He instantly killed the Golden Crow Divine Emperor. He fought the Heavenly Emperor and lasted for 3 breaths of time. Victorious Fighting Buddha, insta-kill. Black Hell Demon Lord, insta-kill. The other enemies were all insta-killed. Hanju suddenly felt bored. It was very difficult to encounter a satisfying battle. He suddenly missed the Great Freedom Golden Crow Divine Emperor. "I'm just saying it for fun. Please don't let such an enemy appear again. Otherwise, I'll have to run away again." Hanju thought silently. He took out the Book of Misfortune and started cursing the Heavenly Tao Buddha. His lifespan had reached 300 trillion years. He could afford to spend some. To maintain the round number, he could still spend 5 trillion years. Of course, 5 trillion years was too much. Hanju couldn't bear to spend it. He decided to use just 10 billion years. It was nothing. It was rare for him to break through, and he had also helped his disciple snatch a supreme treasure. So what if he used 10 billion years of his lifespan to celebrate? The more Hanju thought about it, the more he felt that it was reasonable. He was only 3,000 years old. He was still considered a youngster in the immortal world. A youngster had to be high-spirited and arrogant. 5 days later, Hanju began to consume his lifespan while adding in his dermic powers. As he cursed, he opened his attributes panel and watched as his lifespan decreased so that he wouldn't become addicted. In the imperial garden of the heavenly court, the Heavenly Emperor and the Heavenly Tao Buddha were discussing when the Heavenly Tao Buddha's expression changed drastically. Damn it! The Dark Forbidden Lord was cursing him again. Heavenly Tao Buddha hurriedly circulated his energy to suppress the curse. The Heavenly Emperor asked in surprise, "Buddha, what's wrong?" Heavenly Tao Buddha forced a smile and said, "It's nothing. My Buddhist disciples are in trouble. I'll deduce it. Wait for me." The Heavenly Emperor nodded and continued drinking. As time passed, the Heavenly Tao Buddha's expression turned uglier. Crap! The Dark Forbidden Lord was putting in more effort. Heavenly Tao Buddha cursed silently. He had really been infuriated by the Dark Forbidden Lord. He had previously mocked the Demon Emperor for his unstable Tao heart. Now, he finally understood why the Demon Emperor was so crazy. The curse power of the Dark Forbidden Lord was actually very strong. Previously, it was just a teaser. What happened? Why was the Dark Forbidden Lord cursing him like this? Heavenly Tao Buddha was puzzled. He looked up at the Heavenly Emperor and asked, "By the way, Your Majesty, have you never been cursed by the Dark Forbidden Lord?" The Heavenly Emperor put down his wine cup and smiled bitterly. "How can that be? I don't even dare to cultivate now." Oh, was he cursed again? No wonder his expression was so ugly. The Heavenly Emperor thought to himself. He had actually never been cursed, but if he said it, it would appear that the Dark Forbidden Lord came from the Heavenly Court, and they would easily become everyone's target. "Is the Dark Forbidden Lord cursing you now?" the Heavenly Emperor asked. Seeing the Heavenly Tao Buddha's expression turn so ugly, he felt a little weak. Even the Heavenly Tao Buddha was suffering from the curse. When the Dark Forbidden Lord cursed him, wouldn't he also suffer? The Heavenly Emperor prayed silently, hoping that the Dark Forbidden Lord wouldn't target him. Heavenly Tao Buddha sighed. Indeed. The curse of the Dark Forbidden Lord isn't very strong, but it can disturb one's will and affect one's Tao heart. This fellow curses me every 10 years. It's really annoying. The Heavenly Emperor fell silent. If even the Heavenly Tao Buddha was like this, it was no wonder that the Demon Emperor would go mad. Your Majesty, regarding the Divine Investiture Board, have you thought about it? The Heavenly Tao Buddha suppressed his discomfort and asked. The Heavenly Emperor raised his wine cup again and said slowly, if we control the Divine Investiture Board with the Buddhist sect, you will definitely not betray the Heavenly Court during this calamity? Absolutely not. Will the Heavenly Court or the Buddhist sect make decisions in the calamity? The Buddhist sect is willing to assist the Heavenly Court. After the calamity ends, we will split the land of the immortal world with the Heavenly Court. As for the Heavenly Realm, it will all be controlled by the Heavenly Court. All right, I won't be pretentious anymore. The Heavenly Emperor smiled and raised his wine cup. The Heavenly Tao Buddha also raised his wine cup. The two leaders of the factions smiled at each other and reached an agreement. Inside the Khanate cave abode, Hanju was still cursing the Heavenly Tao Buddha. His lifespan decreased rapidly. 10,000 years. 100,000 years. 1,000,000 years. 10,000,000 years. 100,000,000 years. Hanju started bleeding from his 7 orifices. He checked his attributes panel and emails at the same time. Your good friend Di Tai Bai was attacked by demons. Your good friend Di Tai Bai was attacked by demons. Your good friend Ji Xianshan was attacked by demons. The emails were all showing people who had been attacked in real time. They kept merging to form a concise message. As expected of the Heavenly Tao Buddha, the big shot was indeed stable. He wasn't affected by the curse. Hanju continued cursing. He decided to spend 10 billion years of lifespan. The Heavenly Tao Buddha was worth at least 2 billion years of his lifespan. Time passed. Hanju's face was gradually covered with blood. Fortunately, Tao Comprehension Sword was outside. Otherwise, she would definitely shout. 3 days later, Hanju's lifespan decreased by 2 billion years. However, there was no email regarding the Heavenly Tao Buddha. Hanju was about to go into depression. This fellow is too fierce. Hanju was upset. He could only rest for a few days and curse another enemy. Golden Rock Demon Lord. Hanju only used 100 million years of his lifespan before Golden Rock Demon Lord's portrait vanished. Because of your curse, your enemy Golden Rock Demon Lord's soul exploded and he died. Next was the Demon Emperor. Hanju also used up 2 billion years of his lifespan, but like the Heavenly Tao Buddha, there was no email. Had the Demon Emperor become stronger? This was quite something. Hanju wiped the blood off his face and rested for a few more days. It was time for his last target. Li Xianao. Hanju didn't believe that Li Xianao was as strong as the Demon Emperor and the Heavenly Tao Buddha. I'll use 2 billion years of lifespan on you. After Hanju adjusted his state, he continued cursing. When his lifespan decreased by 1.5 billion years, Hanju saw an email. Because of your curse, your enemy Li Xianao developed mental demons. Hanju immediately stopped. It was enough to develop mental demons. It was useless to continue cursing. This was just like a game. It was time to stop after getting a good result. He would curse once every 10 years and hold a large event every 1,000 years. Hanju thought silently. He began to circulate his energy to heal his injuries and adjust his state. In a forest in the immortal world, Li Xianao sat under the tree and circulated his energy with both hands. His body was surrounded by wisps of murderous aura. His expression changed as he frowned. Not far away, Huang Jihao, who was comprehending the sword, opened his eyes and looked at him in surprise. What's wrong with Master? Huang Jihao was puzzled. Ever since he became Li Xianao's disciple, his life had changed drastically. Under Li Xianao's lead, his sword Dao became stronger. In his mind, Li Xianao was the strongest in the heavens. Why would such a powerful sword immortal show such an abnormality? Could it be that he had suffered from chi deviation? At this moment, Li Xian'eo suddenly opened his eyes. His pupils were actually red, and strange silver patterns appeared on his forehead. Huang Jihao met Li Xian'eo's gaze and his heart skipped a beat. He saw killing intent. Master wants to kill me? No! It's not against me. Li Xian'eo muttered to himself, Li Daokong, I must defeat you. Li Daokong? Huang Jihao couldn't help but think of his frivolous uncle master. Previously, Li Daokong had taught him a lesson and almost crushed his Dao heart. He was too strong. Li Daokong and Li Xian'eo should be about the same level of strength. At least, that was what Huang Jihao thought. It was precisely because they were similar that Li Xian'eo found it difficult to defeat Li Daokong. Master, what's wrong? Huang Jihao asked carefully. Li Xian'eo's eyes turned clear. He shook his head and said, I'm fine. Continue comprehending the sword Dao. You will suffer soon. With that, he closed his eyes again. Damn it! Who is cursing me? Dark Forbidden Lord? Li Xian'eo couldn't figure it out. He hadn't offended many people. Could it be the Heavenly Emperor? He wouldn't curse using such a sinister method. Besides, the Heavenly Emperor and Li Daokong were close friends. If he didn't like him, he could let Li Daokong find trouble with him. Li Xian'eo started to deduce with his fingers, but unfortunately, he couldn't deduce anything. What infuriated him the most was that he had developed a mental demon. All along, he had been very jealous of his senior. The curse had increased his jealousy and formed a mental demon. The mental demon was bewitching him, wanting him to fight Li Daokong. The more Li Xian'eo thought about it, the more vexed he became. He suddenly felt uneasy. The immeasurable calamity this time was probably not that simple. There were too many factions involved, and a mysterious existence was secretly manipulating the situation. Time passed. Ever since he cursed Li Xian'eo to develop his mental demon, Hanju continued to cultivate seriously. Rank 4 Immortal Emperor was not enough. He wanted to reach the rank 9 Immortal Emperor realm as soon as possible. The reroll world was also rapidly developing. After the ascended seniors returned to the mortal world, they vigorously developed their own sects. The cultivation civilization of the reroll world became more and more prosperous, and the providence of the entire world continued to increase. In order to please Hanju, the white-robed Buddha erected his statue all over the world and worshipped him as the god of the mortal world. The providence of the reroll world landed on Hanju, causing his providence to increase without him having to enter the calamity. Time passed. 40 years passed. On this day, Hanju put down the Book of Misfortune and walked out of the cave abode. The disciples were cultivating separately or fighting in the simulation trials. Tu Linger and Li Yao sat together and entered the simulation trial. Ever since she had obtained the ancestral Magus Tower, Tu Linger's strength had increased greatly. Other than an immortal emperor, no one could break through the tower's defense. Li Yao and Moronchi did not believe in this and often challenged her. Sensing Hanju's aura, the Black Hell Demon Lord suddenly appeared in front of him and said, Sept Master, there's some movement in the Yellow Spring. Movement? Hanju immediately spread his divine sense. At some point, the Yellow Spring Ocean had begun to surge. There was no wind, only huge waves. It was extremely strange. Hanju frowned and scanned the bottom of the Yellow Spring with his divine sense. The Yellow Spring was bottomless. Even though Hanju was already an immortal emperor, his divine sense could not penetrate it. After a while, he still didn't catch the reason. He couldn't help but ask, What do you think? The Black Hell Demon Lord smiled bitterly. How would I know? I rarely came to the Netherworld in the past. This place is very sinister. I feel that the Netherworld is even more dangerous than the immortal world. Hanju thought for a moment and said, Continue observing. If there's anything, look for me anytime. Understood. The Black Hell Demon Lord agreed to this, but he didn't leave. Instead, he stopped in front of him and hesitated. Hanju glanced at him and asked, "What's wrong?" "Just say it." The Black Hell Demon Lord gritted his teeth and said, "I want to send the Black Hell Chicken to the territory of our Black Hell Phoenix clan. I hope that it will undergo the baptism there and completely transform into a Black Hell Phoenix." He could also see the problem with the Black Hell Chicken. This fellow was actually very afraid of the outside world. This was not good. Hanju frowned. The calamity has arrived. It's very easy to be affected by karma if you go out. Now is not the time. Let's wait until the calamity is over. Do you want the Black Hell Phoenix clan to perish? This calamity is different from the past. This is an unprecedented calamity and is extremely dangerous. His words were very serious, scaring the Black Hell Demon Lord so much that he hurriedly waved his hand, not daring to think of leaving. Thinking about it carefully, it made sense. Was power more important than life? The Black Hell Demon Lord cursed himself. It was still the sect master who saw through it. He couldn't go out. Survival was the most important. Then, Hanju asked about the Fusang tree's growth before returning to the Khanate cave abode to cultivate. Dao Comprehension Sword followed him into the residence. She said, "Master, Linger's Dharma treasure is too powerful. Do you have any powerful Dharma treasure for me to fight her?" Hanju said calmly, "No, that's the treasure of the Magus race. You can only regret that you don't have a powerful background." Dao Comprehension Sword curled her lips. Hanju smiled. "In any case, you will always follow me. Why do you want to fight? When your cultivation level increases, the use of Dharma treasures will also decrease." "Is that so?" Dao Comprehension Sword didn't believe him and was a little upset. Ever since Tu Linger obtained the ancestral Magus Tower, she became the strongest among the disciples. No one could defeat her. Hanju waved his hand and said, "Come here. I'll personally teach you the Heavenly Sword Dao. When you master it, Tu Linger will definitely not be your match." Dao Comprehension Sword was pleasantly surprised and immediately went over. Hanju began to teach her step by step as he imparted his experience. A year later, Dao Comprehension Sword returned to her mat and began to comprehend the Heavenly Sword Dao. Hanju sent his consciousness into the primordial world. Duan Hongchen's soul was already very weak. Hanju could crush it with a thought. However, this fellow was a rank 1 immortal emperor, after all. It would be a pity to kill him. Hanju had already deeply imprinted the 6 paths insignia into the depths of Duan Hongchen's soul. In the future, he could control his life and death. "Do you want to live?" Hanju's voice sounded in the primordial world. About to collapse, Duan Hongchen immediately woke up. He hurriedly shouted, I want! Please let me go! As long as I survive, I can do anything for you." After Hanju heard that, he couldn't help but ask, "Do you hate me?" "No, definitely not. You're not sincere. The reason why I suppressed you was that you wanted to forcefully snatch my disciple. If it were you, would you let me go? I really don't hate you. I was wrong. I realized my mistake." Hanju sighed. It seemed that the primordial chaos heavenly devil was a rare breed. Duan Hongchen was anxious. He couldn't last much longer. Wait! Could it be that the other party could see through his emotions? Duan Hongchen hurriedly abandoned the complaints in his heart and imagined how happy it would be to survive. Therefore, Duan Hongchen has a favorable impression of you. Current favorability, 3 stars. 3 stars? Not bad. Hanju immediately opened his eyes and waved his right hand, moving Duan Hongchen's soul out. When Duan Hongchen saw everything before him, he was stunned and couldn't believe his eyes. Hanju said, "From today onwards, you're to stay on the island. You're not allowed to leave. Cultivate your temperament well. You must have reverence in your heart. Otherwise, you will die in the hands of others." Hearing this, Duan Hongchen jolted awake. He hurriedly thanked Hanju. Duan Hongchen's favorability towards you has increased. Current favorability, 5 stars. Hanju was satisfied. This was fine. It was very rare for him to let the enemy off in the cultivation world. After all, this was equivalent to letting danger breed and planting a bomb near himself. The reason why Hanju dared to release him was that he had left the 6 paths insignia in his soul. It was enough to control Duan Hongchen's life and death. Hanju waved his hand, signaling him to go out and meet the others. If Duan Hongchen dared to act recklessly, Hanju could kill him with a thought. Duan Hongchen was very nervous after leaving the Khanate cave abode. He wasn't stupid. He knew that if Hanju dared to let him out, he would definitely be fearless, so he didn't dare to act recklessly. Duan Hongchen had been suppressed for countless years. He was extremely embarrassed to greet others one by one. Hanju pulled Duan Hongchen into the simulation trial and sent a voice transmission to the Black Hell Demon Lord to challenge him. At first, Duan Hongchen was very surprised by the simulation trial, causing him to be insta-killed by the Black Hell Demon Lord. Not convinced, he asked to fight again. He was still insta-killed. After nearly 100 challenges, Duan Hongchen became depressed. He finally understood how ridiculous this situation was. He actually wanted to come to this island to snatch someone. Even without Hanju, just this stinky phoenix was enough to suppress him. Sigh. Duan Hongchen found a corner and started to heal his body. Under the blue sky, there were mountains everywhere. Countless floating islands stood in the sky. It was a beautiful scene. On one of the floating islands was a vast arena where a man was cultivating. He cultivated his physique as he kept moving. His punches and kicks were like the wind, and the surrounding space distorted as if it would collapse at any time. His face was quite similar to Hanju, but he was far less handsome. His figure was even more burly, like a human-shaped ferocious beast. He was Han Ming, Hanju's younger brother. After cultivating for a while, Han Ming stopped. His sweat evaporated and turned into a mist that spread out. Han Ming turned around and was about to take a step when a black shadow suddenly appeared at the edge of the arena. A black and white circular disc floated behind him, looking like a Taiji painting. Han Ming was pleasantly surprised upon seeing the black shadow. He hurriedly knelt down and cupped his fists. Master, you're here. Can I go out now? The black shadow opened a pair of cold eyes and said, Go out? With your strength? You're far inferior to Hanju. He can crush you with a finger now. Han Ming frowned, his eyes filled with indignation. His master always used his brother to pressure him, causing him to be extremely dissatisfied.